It's AFI. AFI's version is better.
Who did Halloween better, the Misfits or AFI?
Go ask the 900,000 people who have commented on this on my short I made with this exact question.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, did you do that?
Yeah, I did that as a short. Whose version is better? A real simple video that I just clipped together.
Oh, wow. So what was the conclusion you came to?
It's AFI. AFI's version is better.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. Okay.
Not only that, I actually also maybe can make an argument for Alkaline Trio's super slow version of Halloween as well. Maybe not as better, but
I don't
that's
like
a pretty
that
awesome song. No, I love it with the video that's up on YouTube.
I've never seen the video.
The horror movie. Yeah, I like that version a lot.
Alkaline Trio is like a top 5, maybe top 10 band all time for me. Like it's way up there for me.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of the few songs that I don't care for by Alkaline Trio. And I don't say that with any disrespect, but the AFI version of Halloween is just so powerful. The Misfits version, great song. Mm-hmm. But the issue is that the first one that I heard was the AFI one. And so
same.
Yeah. So like I heard a really good version of that song, and then they were like, yeah. I was like, man, this sounds, I guess I heard it and like paid attention to it because I was like, man, it sounds kind of familiar. And somebody goes, yeah, it's a Misfits cover. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. I didn't even care. I was like, oh, okay. And then I went back later and listened to it and was like, underwhelming. Like I don't, and I would imagine that some people are going to be super irritated by that. And I don't mean to irritate anybody. I just thought it would be an interesting, again, another topic for conversation, man. Like, and if you
AFI
do like the
does
version,
most things better than most other musicians do things. If it's AFI versus a lot of other musicians, AFI wins most of those arguments, like 94% of them. Dude. And especially on something that they're very good at, like horror punk themselves. Like, so like to me, it's more of that is the ultimate tribute, like their version being better. And here was my hot take on that. I've said this: the Misfits are the Bob Dylan of punk rock, and here's what I mean by that. Bob Dylan, I think he kind of sucks, to be honest with you, but he writes really good songs. Like Guns N' Roses did Bob Dylan better than Bob Dylan did Bob Dylan with Knocking on Heaven's Door. And there's the Hendrix song that Bob Dylan wrote. It's the only Hendrix song I really, really like all along the Watchtower. It's a Bob Dylan song. And I'm like, you know what? The Misfits, I like their songs a lot better sometimes when other people sing them because they didn't really know how to play yet when they were writing them. So then when a band like AFI that is totally tight gets together and puts that material together, it actually showcases the power of these songs. I think it's more of a compliment to the Misfits than it is a detraction from them.
That is an extremely elegant way of saying that. And I agree. I think that makes a lot of sense because here's the thing. One of the reasons why I was never a fan of the Misfits until I was an adult is because I didn't like the recordings and the terrible musicianship. I just didn't like it. It didn't appeal to me. Like, I understand. It's funny because as I get older, you think I would like better recording qualities, but I've kind of regressed and I like older Misfit stuff. I go look for these lo-fi shitty recorded bands that I find on YouTube all the time. I like that sound now. It goes along with the movies that I like too. It's weird. But when I was younger, I had to learn it. I had to grow into it. Like, look, man, I don't care what any kid tells you, dude. No kid very few kids listened to like Crass, GBH, and Minor Threat. Well, maybe not Minor Threat, but because they're pretty damn good off the jump. But like Crass and GBH and any of this like really bad recorded, even early Misfits, and just immediately loved it, dude. Like very few kids heard that and liked it. They liked stuff like The Unseen, Rancid, AFI, The Offspring, Green Day, and then they worked their way backwards to this stuff. If you were 20 years older than me, you liked the Misfits when they came out because that's what was available. Mm-hmm. But if there was other stuff available, there's no reason for me to believe that you just heard these poor recordings and immediately loved it. Now, you could appreciate it and the song could be good, but if you had an opportunity to listen to like an old DOA record versus like the Suicide Machines, it is so much easier to listen to Suicide Machines and you get similar content. You get similar talking points and you get similar song length, similar artwork. Similar, not the same, but it's like, bro, what are we doing here? Like,
that speaks to the era that we talk, or that at least I talk about, and you and I talk about a lot of that 90s era. That's the shift, right? Is then your punk could sound like music, so to speak. Like it's representative of music, and that is the big difference. Whereas that's the other thing with this Misfits stuff is it actually speaks to the Misfits how much they endured, because they're known for that bad quality. There's a lot of bad quality punk that was recorded in the olden times, but a lot of it didn't. Like we don't care about it. It's just it is strictly relegated to that era, so we can accept that. We know these songs can be better. That's why sometimes I think we're a little tough on the sound quality on this stuff. Before, like you said,
100%
learning to appreciate it, which I've done that getting older too. But that's why the Grave stuff has a certain appeal to it, because it's produced in 1997. It sounds records in the late 90s to me never sounded better. Like that's the golden era of how stuff sounded. And you have Misfits content, even the rehashed Misfits content, which is some people say it doesn't have its soul, like those collection series that came out in the 90s, because that especially Glenn edited out a lot of the bass to not give Barry as much credit. But it is more listenable though, objectively, even if it is kind of like compressed compared to what like I have what are the old vinyls I have sitting around here, which the Static Age vinyl, which like I love the sound of it, because as you're saying, because of the legend that the tape melted as they pulled it out and all that stuff. Like that's also part of the joy of having it, which wasn't a charm that really existed as much in the 90s. Like that's more of a modern thing, as we're more into retro culture and appreciate art on all different, movies could only used to happen on big screens. Now movies can happen on this thing, and we like them or dislike them for different reasons, and there's different artistic merit.
Well, it's funny because it doesn't matter. Like, do you like it or do you not? If you get to where you like it, that's the good thing, man. And you don't have to like it if you don't want to. There's no rule book in punk rock, or there might be to a certain degree, but even that is stupid. And I live by that rule book sometimes. I gatekeep sometimes, but I fully appreciate the fact that that's dumb. It is what it is, man. I'm not perfect. I'm flawed, and but I know what's right and what's wrong. And if you like something you like it, that's good. And the last thing I'll say before we move on to this list is that a lot of the reasons that they were recorded so badly back then is they just simply didn't have the way to do it better. In the 90s, they did, so they utilized it. I hate the fact that some people out there go, no, man, this sounds too good. It's not punk rock because it sounds too good. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Like, you want to spread a message, so you want the most people that can listen to it to listen to it. So why would you put out intentionally bad stuff unless you're one of the bands that are going for a niche audience? I am part of that audience now. Okay, I get it, but don't get mad when you sell 300 tapes and that's it. Like, that should be what you're looking to do. But if you want to sell records, you want to tour, and you want to be on a Warped Tour type stage, you have to be able to put a good recording out. And when it was available, they started doing it. And I think it's so weird that people just gripe and they go, like the argument that the old Rancid stuff is the best, like their early stuff, pre-Self-Titled 93 even. They're like, oh, the first 2 EPs are the best. No, you're one of those weird edgelord punks that think that don't even probably believe it. They just say it. So
yeah, because it's what you're supposed to say. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not that cool. Don't care.